How's it going, everybody? I am DeanoGTO, and today we're going to be talking about the M48 Patton line in World of Tanks and going over the general playstyle and whether or not I think it's worth going for this line. So, first off, I'm just going to quickly run over the general playstyle for the line that you learned from the low tiers and gradually improves as far as tier 9. So, pretty much the playstyle that you use is you find out at tier 5, tier 6 that you need to hide the hull if you want to survive any period of time in a match in World of Tanks, because the hull on the M4 tier 5 and the EZ8 at tier 6 is incredibly weak. Like, if someone hits it, most of the time they're going to do damage and they're going to take off a lot of your health very quickly. So you really do need to become an expert at hiding the hull and not taking damage. So that pretty much teaches you the playstyle straight off the bat, that you need to hide the hull and you need to use your gun depression, or just find some sort of amount of cover to essentially just minimize the amount of a target that you're giving to the enemy. And this is a playstyle that carries from tier 5 up to tier 9. Then whenever you get to the M48 Patton at tier 10, the playstyle changes. You end up having a vehicle which is only good at using its turret whenever it's hulled down, using a ridgeline. It can't use flat terrain because it has that massive tumor on the top. And because it has that massive tumor on the top, that means whenever you're using flat terrain, that is just a clearly exposed weak point everyone shoots at. And because everyone shoots at, you take a lot of damage very quickly and you die very quickly because of that. So pretty much, the M48 Patton takes the playstyle that you learned at tier 5 up and gradually developed up towards tier 9 and just does it worse. And you gain some useless hull armor, which you're never going to use if you learn the playstyle from tier 5 up to tier 9. You never really used your hull armor in any of these vehicles up as far as tier 9. Then suddenly you gain some useless hull armor at tier 10 that you would have no experience using if this was the first time you ever played World of Tanks. And you'd be like, well, this is kind of a crap tank. It doesn't really do what the M46 did. It doesn't do it as well as the M46. And that's true, because the M48 loses a degree of gun depression in comparison to the M46 and the Pershing and the T20. And it also loses 3 kilometers an hour speed in comparison to the M46. It loses 2 horsepower per ton ratio, and the DPM increase between the M48 and the M46 is actually pretty small. It's about 200. And you might be thinking, like, 200 doesn't sound too bad. Well, here's the problem. If you look at the American mediums in comparison to the English mediums, there was about a 640 change in DPM between the Centurion 7 and the Centurion Action X. So a significant DPM boost. So you can see why the DPM boost between the M46 and the M48 feels crap. Because going from the 7.1 to the Action X is a massive change. So going from the M46 to the M48, you kind of expect the same sort of massive change, and then you don't get it. It's honestly such a disappointing tank, because it feels slow, it feels cumbersome, the gun doesn't feel that great, it has a good rate of fire, but it doesn't feel that spectacular, and the tank just feels awkward in positions that the M46 could use easily, because it has that degree less gun depression, and also it can't use flat terrain hold down cover because of that massive tumor on the top. Now, don't get me wrong, the M46 does have a cupola on the top, but it's nowhere near the same scale as the one that the M48 has. Like, I'll just show you here quick. Actually, never mind, it's apparently kept the version I was looking at. Okay, that's handy. So, you can see there, the cupola, it's a reasonable size, it's not massive, and it's also further towards the back on this machine. It's probably about halfway down the turret. And then when you look at the M48, it's about in the halfway point in the turret as well, but I would argue the turret on this thing here is a bit shorter than the M46 turret. It's also a lot wider looking, which kind of makes the machine look kind of stubby and fat. It looks kind of weird in comparison to the M46, it looks just kind of bizarre. But the cupola is probably about double the size of the one you had on the M46, which makes it a really easy target whenever you're on flat terrain and means you take a lot of damage very quickly. So you need to be using your gun depression in order to really make use of this thing's turret armor, which means it kind of halves the amount of positions that you can actually use in this machine, which is a pretty significant loss. Like, there are positions that you could use on, say, Himmelsdorf as an example, whenever you're using like mounds of dirt to just hide your hull. You could use those positions pretty effectively in the M46, but you can no longer use them in the M48 because you've just gained a massive weak point on the top. Then when it comes to the hull down gameplay, it gets even more awkward there, because you lose a degree of gun depression, which means you're not as flexible when you're dealing with ridge lines. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. Basically, the machine just becomes more awkward than the Tier 9, and doesn't really gain that much to really make up for it. Now, a lot of people will probably argue that the 50 penetration boost is enough to make up for it. Personally, I didn't really care about the penetration. I actually like the M48. I like the M46, sorry, because of its rapid rate of fire and its ability to output damage in a devastating manner in a short period of time. That was the reason why the M46 was fun. The M48 gaining that penetration doesn't really change the way that I played it, and it really just made it so that it was basically doing the same job as Centurion Action X, but doing it worse. Like, sure, it has the slightly faster rate of fire, but the gun's not as consistent, and because you need to be a hull down and you need to be using your gun depression all the time, you're basically in the same spots the Centurion Action X would be, and the Centurion Action X is just going to do the job that you're trying to do, but do it more consistently. So it makes the M48 feel kind of like an unnecessary extra option, which is not really going to be that good as an extra option, if that makes sense. So then you also have to look at the Tier 8 grind, and also the Tier 9 grind to an extent. So Tier 9 has an absolutely horrendous stock grind. It has a 68,000 XP gun that you need to unlock. It has a load capacity when it's stock that doesn't even allow you to mount the Pershing's top gun. So you need to grind 68,000 XP with the Pershing's top gun, which was already mediocre Tier 8, which is crap Tier 9. And you also need to unlock a 24,000 XP turret to get the full usage out of that 105mm gun. So you need to unlock the gun first, then the turret, in order to get the full usability out of that tank. Then after that you can go to the tracks, then the engine, and then that's the tank fully decked out and fully usable. But it's over 100,000 XP easily before you're able to do that. Meanwhile, when it comes to the Pershing is just completely outclassed by the Centurion Mark 1. So the Centurion Mark 1 has pretty much about the same sort of alpha damage, has 36 more pen, has a faster rate of fire, has a faster reload time as you'd expect, has the same gun depression, has the same aiming time, has 0.03 better accuracy, has about 80 higher DPM, has 10 extra health, has equally crap hull armor, because the hull armor on the Pershing is pretty crap, has double the front turret armor, has 2 tons extra weight while having a higher part of weight ratio, which means it's better at ramming, has 2 km/h top speed advantage, and has the same view range. I don't really count the concealment as an advantage towards the Pershing, because I really don't think it's that much of a thing. Plus you lose that advantage completely when you get to Tier 10, because the Tier 10 M48 Patton for some reason has no stealth whatsoever, which is hilarious to me. Like, it's a vehicle that doesn't have that many advantages already, but just loses even more. And here you can also see the difference between the M46 and the M48. You lose 3 km/h speed, you lose 2 in horsepower per ton ratio, and just in general the machine just is worse. Like, it just feels like a worse tank overall to me. It just feels like a worse balance to M46. So yeah, the M26 Pershing, as you just saw, completely outclassed by the Centurion Mark 1. The T20 is the next vehicle I'm going to focus on. I actually like the T20 quite a lot. It's kind of unique in this line because it's faster than average for this line. Has the same 10 degrees of gun depression with a 9mm gun that has 160 pen. And for the most part, I like the way the gun handles, and I like the playstyle of the vehicle, but it does feel kind of out of place in this line because it's a fast medium tank with no real armor to use whatsoever, not even on the turret, and pretty much relies on taking advantage of enemies making mistakes. It's a fun vehicle, and once you recognize the playstyle of this vehicle, it actually is a pretty devastating little tank. But I can see how people would find it kind of off-putting. Meanwhile, when it comes to the Jumbo and the Easy 8, The Jumbo is completely outclassed these days. Like, it lost 20mm of effective armor whenever it changed to HD, and that basically meant that, well, it couldn't bounce like 175 pin 122mm shots anymore, which basically took away its entire purpose. Then it comes to the Easy 8. The Easy 8 and the M4, you can kind of talk about at the same time because they're pretty much exactly the same tank. It's just the Easy 8 is a tier higher and is incrementally better in pretty much every respect. So both of them have 12 degrees of gun depression with 105mm, and both of them with their top 76mm have 12 degrees of gun depression as well. Both of them are reasonably quick vehicles. Both of them are pretty tall vehicles as well. And this is the tier where you get the introduction. These are the tiers, sorry, when you get the introduction to having to hide the hull in order to really make use of the machines fully, because you need to minimize the target that you're giving to your enemy. Because if you're minimizing the target, it means you're taking less damage, and it means you're going to survive into the late game. And if you survive in the late game, there's more damage you can do over the course of the match. So yeah, that was my general theory on like how to play these vehicles, and it was pretty successful for me. It's just sad that the line for the most part is kind of disappointing at the high tiers. The M46 is a fantastic vehicle, but it doesn't really feel worth it after the grind of the Pershing and the actual M46 stock grind, which is probably like 140k if I had to guess. So you have this gun here, or this engine here, sorry, which is unique to this tank. That costs 31,000 XP. The suspension's also obviously unique, so that's 54,000 XP. The engine, or it's not the engine, sorry, the radio, you have the radio shared on other tanks, so chances are you probably have it. So that's 54,000 XP on the tracks and the engine. Then you have the turret, which is another 24,000 XP. That brings it up to what, 78,000? Yep, 78,400. Then you have another 68,000 XP in the form of the gun. So that brings up to 86,400. Is that 140? 86, 146,400. So nearly 150,000 XP before you fully upgrade this tank. It's a bad stock grind. It is a really, really bad stock grind. It's probably up there with the Leopard stock grind, or Leopard PTS stock grind, but that one there I would argue is worse because you got a significantly worse gun to start off with. So yeah, that's my general opinion on the M46 Patton line. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hopefully this video is not too controversial because I'm basically talking shit about a line which a lot of people did like back in the day, but I think it's hard to really deny that the line has been power crept into kind of obscurity. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think I'm wrong on some of the different vehicles? And out of curiosity, do you like the M48 Patton, or did you like it in the past and feel like it's been power crept, or do you like it at this moment in time? So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.